Welcome to Backstage with Becca B, with special guest Sophie Evans. Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Backstage with Becca B. On this episode, she rose to fame when she auditioned for BBC's Over the Rainbow in the UK. She became the runner-up and was handpicked by Andrew Lloyd Webber to be the Dorothy alternate in Wizard of Oz, where she eventually became lead Dorothy. She has since become a West End favorite and recently was seen in Wicked as Glinda. Please welcome Sophie Evans. How have you been with everything going on?
I mean, okay, I suppose. It's just been a bit of a crazy time and I kind of had to adapt and just diversify myself a little bit throughout lockdown. So I've been teaching singing lessons online and I have done a handful of live performances, but it's been weird. How about you?
It's been weird too. I wish that the live performances were happening in the US because I've seen a lot happening in the UK. And I love that. I love they're making that happen there.
Yeah. So where in the US? Did you say you're in Connecticut?
I'm normally in California. Right now I'm in Texas. But I mean, I don't know where I'm gonna be after this.
Oh, cool. Nice.
So it's going though.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot going on in America right now as well. So, the world is kind of very busy.
For sure. So, getting into theater, have you always known that you wanted to be a performer and entertain people and be on stage?
Yeah, I've got memories from about 4 years old where I was singing and I just knew that it made me so happy. And I went on to kind of do what we call amateur dramatics here, which is, your amateur theatre group. And I loved that. And I did that until I was about 12 or 13. And then, I started to enter more kind of competitions and things that are a little bit more professional. And I just always loved it. There's never been anything else that I think I can do.
When did you realize that you could sing?
Do you know what? I have a really vivid memory. I was around 7 years old and I was singing Hopelessly Devoted from Greece to my teachers at school, and they all kind of looked at each other in a kind of comedy way, as in like, this 7-year-old is kind of like riffing and doing all things like that, and they were a bit like, wow, that's quite cool. And I thought, oh yeah, maybe I am something of a talent.
Yeah, maybe I can do this for a
little
bit.
Yeah.
How did you work on becoming a well-rounded performer, like to be able to go on and audition and feel confident auditioning for the reality show that you auditioned for?
I think just putting yourself out there. Of course, nerves come into play and it's hard and you have challenges, but I think being a performer, you have to have something kind of inbuilt in you to kind of go on to that professional level, because there are so many knockbacks and there are so many hurdles that you have to overcome, that you kind of build this tough exterior. And I think I started doing that at around 15 or 16 when things started to get a bit more real.
Yeah, because you were young when you went on to do the reality competition that you did. You were, if I'm doing the math correctly, like 17, 18?
17, yeah, 17. I was 17. Yeah, it's crazy. It's 10 years ago this year.
That's insane. What was your experience like auditioning for that and beating out like 10,000 other people to be runner-up?
I have such fond memories of the time. Looking back, it was crazy. And if I was asked to do it again now, I'd probably say no. But at the time, it was so much fun, and I met amazing people who are so talented, who have gone on to do amazing things. And it was just, at 17, I was just so happy to be involved in something. I was like, this is so cool. It was extremely hard because we had to learn so many routines and so many songs, and we had to look a certain way all the time. So there was a lot of pressure on us, but yeah, I have really fond memories.
Yeah, I'm sure there was a lot of, like, in America for US competition shows, I'm sure there's a lot of producer control involved.
Yeah, totally. So we were, told to do one thing by our kind of acting and singing coaches, and they were trying to get us to just perform the best that we could, whereas you had the producing side of things where they wanted to see the emotion, they wanted to see the tough times, whereas we wanted to kind of hide that with a veneer and just be these perfect performers, whereas the producers really wanted to see the the nitty gritty.
So, and then after that, when you were chosen to be runner-up for that, did you ever imagine, first of all, that you'd be runner-up?
No, never in a million years. I did, honestly. Being so young and where I'm from, I mean, in terms, comparing it to somewhere in America, I'm from a rural little village where, you know, everyone knows everyone, but no one really leaves and goes off to do anything out of the ordinary, and being a performer, that is deemed kind of out of the ordinary for where I'm from. So I just didn't think I was the right candidate, but it ended up changing my life.
Yeah, and then Andrew Lloyd Webber, no big deal, like chose you to play the alternate in The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, so
How
cool.
did that go down?
I mean, it was, I actually remember it was a couple of days after the final of the show, and, you know, everything had kind of settled down, and it's this massive kind of crash after you've been involved in something like that, because it was so hype, and you're on this high for such a long time. So when it all stops and you have that 5 minutes to process, I think you know, I had like a head cold and I was a little bit ill for a while, just because you're so like, whoa, drained. But I remember the phone call, he rang my mother, because I mean, I was only 17 and I still had to kind of have a bit of a chaperone, and my mother was there, and she said, Andrew Lloyd Webber's on the phone, and I'm like, what? That's so cool. And she was going, he still wants you to be Dorothy. I'm like, what do you mean? What does that mean? And she was like, I'll tell you. She was going, you know, getting all the information. And then he basically wanted me to do alternate, which was one show a week. And he put me into a drama school in London called Arts Educational for a couple of months beforehand. So there was, you know, I can't thank him enough. He really, really set the kind of stones in place to make sure I was going to go on and do it professionally.
And that's crazy to have someone like him believe in you. I'm sure that's amazing.
Yeah, you know, you have your peer. I don't know. Do you perform yourself? Do you sing and stuff?
I don't. I love watching performances, and that's why I started this, because like I wanted to like try to get the theater conversation back going.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, so being you know, growing up singing and having that really supportive family, it's nice to know that it's not only your parents that think you're good. You know, getting the Lord, Andrew Lloyd Webber, to actually believe in you is, you know, I can't really have wished for much more.
Yeah, and then you mentioned going to school, like he helped you with school during that time. Did you do school while in the show?
So no, so my journey was very different to a lot of the other girls. A couple of them had, you know, studied for 3 years, got their degree before doing the TV competition, where I was just I got pulled out of school. So as I say, I was 16 on my first audition, and then I turned 17. So I don't know what it is in comparison, but we have A levels, which are like the last kind of exams you would do before you went on to college or university. And I got pulled out and stopped doing those. So I had no education really, and no actual drama training or dance. I'd never danced ever, and it's still something I'm really not good at. So basically, when they said they wanted me as alternate, they knew they needed to give me some kind of training. So we did the TV show. Then they wanted me to be alternate. So that was the May. And then he said, so you're going to go to college in September until Christmas, and then we'd start rehearsals for The Wizard of Oz.
Wow, so that happened like really quick, and it was like, okay, so college, then rehearsals, just like right off the bat.
Yeah. The best way for me, I mean, it wouldn't work for everybody, but I'm someone that works well if I'm thrown into a situation. I kind of find my bearings and just get on with things. Whereas if I have too much time to prepare and too much time to overthink, I don't deal, you know, everyone's different, but my thing is, you know, chuck me in a situation and I'll find my way out, you know, somehow.
And when you overthink, you start to compare yourself to other people. So it's
exactly. Like, overthinking is bad, you know. Of course, prepare. I'm not saying, guys, just go to an audition, don't prepare, you know, you'll be fine. I mean, totally prepare for things like that. But in terms of the speed that I had to learn things, that was good for me, rather than having all this time to ponder on things. You know, it was like, you have to learn your script within 4 weeks. You have to learn all the staging. You have to know where you need to be. You know, you have no option. You have to do it, or it'll go wrong.
Yes, of course. And then you got to be Dorothy full time,
Yeah.
eventually. What was your most memorable part from being Dorothy full time and playing her so many times a week?
Yeah, do you know what? It's such an amazing show. It's a timeless show that will always live on. I truly believe, it's in pop culture forever now. I really think that. So to be part of something that is so iconic, Over the Rainbow is probably one of the most famous songs. Having that moment for myself for a full contract was amazing. The cast were incredible. I made friends for life on that show. That's something you cherish, because you often go through life meeting groups with people and you might never see them again, and it's like that with performing. You get into a cast and you're with each other every day. You are tired together, you eat food together on double show days, and you're really kind of a family. And then you might just not see them for 5 years afterwards. So it's very rare to kind of have those people that you take on into your life, but I did make some friends for life on that show.
Yeah, and I mean, and it probably opened so many doors for you opportunity-wise later in between. I'm gonna get into Wicked, but because obviously that's huge. But in between, what exciting opportunities did you have in between doing Wizard of Oz and Wicked?
Yeah, so it definitely gave me a platform, the TV show and then the Wizard of Oz, having that kind of West End credit on your CV. It does really change things. So I went on to do some really cool things. I mean, I've performed all around the world in concerts, which is something that I still do. And off the back of having that West End credit, people in Japan want to see you because you have been whoever in whichever show. And so that's so cool. I did some films, which was really good, with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. I don't know how big their films are in America, but over here they have this kind of cult following. Yeah, and they're really cool. And then I did a show called Lord of the Dance, which is an Irish dancing show, we did tour America, which was amazing. I was the singer in that show, and we did 3 months on Broadway. We toured, we finished in Vegas, we did LA. I mean, we did all over. We did Texas. It was so cool.
So you got to travel a lot.
Yeah, travel with work, pardon me. It's not coronavirus.
I believe you.
Just a tickle. Yeah, to travel with work for me is the biggest gift. To be paid to see the world is amazing.
Yeah. Where was your favorite place to go to travel and to perform?
I do love America. Vegas is such an amazing place in the weirdest way. And I think New York.
And since I had this on my question and I didn't know if it applied, but since it does apply, how are American audiences different from London audiences?
It's a tough one. I think it depends what the performance is. With Lord of the Dance, it has a massive following and some crowds would go wild. I think it was state to state was different how people reacted. But London audiences are quite reserved until that moment where everyone kind of gets involved, and then it can be really kind of raucous as well. But it's that reserved kind of polite kind of, we should be really listening to this show. And then often we'd find, so a Wednesday matinee for any performer is hard. It's so tiring, and you still have another one to do in the evening. So we'd want the Wednesday matinee audience to be really raring to go, giving us that kind of extra push to get us through. And often they weren't. Often they were quiet, and we'd think, they're not enjoying it as much today. And then you get to the curtain call, and they'd go crazy. They'd be standing up, and you think they were just being attentive and really listening. So yeah, it's the cast.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I've heard a lot of that same thing from people who have gone to London for shows. Like people I know here who have gone to London for shows are like, it's so different. Like the American audiences are so loud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. You guys are loud.
Yeah, there's really no self-control with the applause.
Yeah, it's great.
We love
great. It's great.
We love theater, but like there's a lot of cheering.
Yeah.
It sometimes covers up the singing.
Yeah, and there's a lot more of you guys. I mean, there's 300 million people living in America plus, and we only have 60 million here in the UK, and we're split over kind of 4 areas. So you've got so many more people to be excited about theatre, which is cool.
I mean, true. So Wicked, that's huge. Had that been on your bucket list for a while before getting it?
Yeah, I mean, it's still on my bucket list. It's still the best thing ever. I saw the show when I was 15. I think I heard the soundtrack when I was 14. And there's no other, I mean, I love all musical theatre. I'm quite diverse, I'll listen to kind of anything. But with Wicked, when I heard that soundtrack, I remember listening to Defying Gravity about 50 times in a row and just thinking, this is epic. This makes me feel like I could take on the world. This makes me feel like all I ever want to do is sing. And not every show makes me feel like that. So I was just in love with the soundtrack straight away. I mean, Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel, oh, what a duo, incredible. And just an amazing story. I have a sister, and that kind of bond, between 2 women it just spoke to me, and I loved the story. And don't judge a book by its cover being a really, really important message coming from the show. So when I went to see it, I cried from start to finish, completely blown away. Amazing performances by everyone involved. And it was that moment where it kind of clicked in my head. I want to do this professionally. I want to be like these people. And I went home and tried to add everyone on Facebook in the program. Nobody accepted me. But it's quite funny because from that cast, I went on to work with 2 of them in The Wizard of Oz. 2 people who were in that cast when I saw them a couple of years later. I was in The Wizard of Oz with them. And then this lady, Hannah Toy, who was in Wicked when I went to watch it, was in it when I was in it. She was in it for that long.
I heard a story like that the other day from someone. And they were like, I saw Wicked like back in like the early days, and when I was in it, someone from then when I saw the show was in it, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, so I saw it when I was 16, and she was still in it when I was 24. So she's still in it now. Well, she's not in it, she's still involved now. She's not in the show. She's her role is associate choreographer or something like that, or resident choreographer. I can't remember exactly, but it just completely you have this when you have your idols and your things that you're so impressed by. Wicked was that for me. So getting the part, I completely broke down. It was like a dream. It was, I know I sound really dramatic, but there's no show that I think will ever compare for me to be in. So I've done what I've set out to do. That was kind of my end goal, was Wicked. So I've done it, and it's kind of like, okay, where do I go from where do I go now? There's a lot of shows I'd love to do, but Wicked, I would love to go back to Wicked as well, I think, eventually. But when I did it, it was everything I wanted it to be and more, which was special.
And I'm sure, from what I've heard, I'm sure people would love for you to go back to Wicked. I mean, I'd personally love if you came to the US and played the role.
Awesome. I'd be totally up for that. Who can we talk to? How can we?
We can manifest that, because I think manifesting sometimes works.
Let's send it into the universe. Thank you. Yes. Everyone do that.
Yes. Who was the first Elphaba and Glinda you saw in the show? I have to ask him.
So I went initially to see Kerry Ellis. Do you know Kerry Ellis?
Yes.
Yeah. So I wanted to see Kerry Ellis, but she was on holiday when I got there. So I saw her standby, Ashley Gray, who was incredible as well. And I also saw Diane Pilkington, who was the first British Glinda. And she was, just so funny, so on the money with everything, the comedy, the vocals, the acting, the emotional stuff. She was amazing. And then I saw her again when I went back a few years after, and I saw Alexia Kadim.
Okay.
So she was amazing as well. And then I've seen Willemijn Verkijk. I saw Suzie Mathers as Glinda. Obviously, I've seen Alice as Elphaba. So I've seen a couple, yeah.
You mentioned the comedy with Glinda. Did you have a lot of freedom when you played Glinda with the comedy and with like getting to go above and beyond to entertain the audience and play it a little differently than other Glindas have in the past?
Yes, to an extent. I mean, the show has a kind of structure, because it's done so well. Why would you want to kind of mess around with it too much? But in terms of having your personality seep through the character, that's definitely allowed. I mean, you know, when day one of the first things I staged was Popular, and I thought, okay, we're really going in the deep end here, guys, you know, straight on there. We're not going to start with the opening of the show. No, okay, we're going to go Popular. Fine. So it was straight on to the choreography. And there's moments where they go, okay, this move happens here. But then there's kind of like 3 or 4 bars where it's on you. What are you feeling? And, you know, so I did this kind of like cartwheel over the bed. And, you know, when you do the little ballet sequence across the front of the stage, that's kind of, I'll go, well, I feel like doing this and doing this. And then Hannah, who was the choreographer, would go, okay, so you're doing that. Let's call that a jeté. Let's call that a pirouette, and kind of do what you think. So there's definitely moments where you can have that freedom.
Did you ever make anyone like break character during that scene specifically, or any other scene, Linda?
Yes, totally. I mean, I'm naturally quite clumsy, and I love comedy, and I love like people who are witty and quick off the mark. So I often, you know, I really try to react to what happens in front of me as much as possible. As much as you have to say your lines, you have to be in a certain place.
Yeah.
Making it authentic and organic is the funnest part. So often things would go wrong, but it's about making that feel like it was right. So I remember one time the wand, so when you do, you know, Glinda does her bit at the front of the stage, and then she throws the wand off.
Yes.
So I was flipping around with this wand, and then you have to like hit it on the bed. So I was hitting it on the bed, and it completely snapped in two. And I was like, oh. And all of the audience were like really laughing. And I think it was it might not have been Alice. I think it might have been Laura Pick, who was the standby. And she was like, and I just threw both pieces into the wing, and it was just really funny. And so things like that, you know, that keeping it authentic. And I was still Glinda in that moment, but obviously it made Laura laugh and it made the audience laugh. So I was kind of like, uh-oh, you know, I've just broke one of the props. It's so good. Yeah.
It's those things that make live theater what it is, and like so special, and it makes people come back over and over again to live theater.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why every time you see a show, it should feel like a slightly different version. It should never feel, you know, like a carbon copy. You should think, oh yeah, that didn't happen last time. And oh, she was more kind, you know, with the character Elphaba, some days you could play it more moody or more kind of boisterous and grounded, whereas some days she may be slightly more vulnerable. She may be slightly more of that, you can see that kind of weaker character inside her, but some days she's really strong. And it's about it always being organic.
And how you're feeling that day probably too.
Yeah, definitely. If I'm tired, my Glinda's definitely a bit more tired. If I'm happy, she's you know, it's probably a bit more kind of crazy, which is good.
She's breaking wands and stuff.
Yeah, breaking props and costing the show money.
Yes. And what do you think, speaking of Elphaba, what do you think made yours and Alice's connection so special? Because I've heard so many great things about you two playing the roles opposite each other.
Do you know what? It's weird because me and Alice are so different, which is like the characters. Not Alice isn't like Elphaba in real life, and I'm not exactly like Glinda in real life, but we have characteristics that definitely match. So Alice is quite straightforward, straight talking and sarcastic, and you know, she doesn't take any messing. Whereas with me, I'm quite, you know, laid back, and I just kind of go with the flow and whatever. So I think maybe because that works on stage, it worked off stage as well. She is so professional, incredibly talented. The voice, you can't even imagine how annoying it can be to have someone like her who's so good all the time, and you're like, can't you just be like not good today? And she's always so good. But we have such a like cheeky, like get each other relationship, which is great.
It must be so amazing to get to listen to your Elphaba sing every day.
I may be biased, but I think she's the best Elphaba that we've had in the UK. You know, I mean, Rachel Tucker, they're probably on par. They are like so good. They're both different, but there was something about Alice's raw energy all the time. Her voice was just so, you know, it kind of like went through you because it was so strong. So I probably am biased, but I think she.
It froze a little bit. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
It froze just a little bit right there. That's why I didn't want you to think I was just staring. I was like, let me wait.
Yeah.
Let me wait. Yeah. But I was gonna say, I also listened to videos of you singing last night, and I texted my friend and was like, I'm kind of offended by how stunning her voice is.
Oh, thank you. I mean, my voice changes all the time. So if you listen to videos of me when I was 17, I mean, no, I don't sound like that anymore. I don't sound like that. My voice has changed. It's matured. It's grown into a soprano voice, which I didn't think I had when I was 17. So thank you. That's really kind.
I mean, obviously it's going to change over time, which I think is important to mention for young singers who are watching this video, because if their voice is changing and they like don't know why, like, hey.
Yeah, it does. Mine will probably continue to change until I'm 50, 60. You know, it'll just keep changing, which is exciting. Just, you know, hopefully I'll be able to sing like Alice in a couple of years' time. That's the dream. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be Alice Fearn.
Hey, love it. What's your favorite Glinda song to sing, and what's your favorite Glinda line?
My favorite Glinda song, it's so hard. I love them all for different reasons. I mean, iconic, the start of the show, iconic. To get to do that, you know, over the opening and the big last, you know, amazing. But then popular, I mean, again, so iconic. Thank Goodness was such. I think probably I'm gonna say Thank Goodness. I'm gonna put that out there, because it was so emotional. It was the only time, the first time in the show where you get to see that, but kind of you get to see through the veneer that she has, that one, you know, she is real. She does have very real feelings. She's just really good at hiding it, and you could go so many different ways, and the actual melody of the song is amazing to sing. But then For Good, I mean, I loved it all. And my favorite line, oh god, it's so difficult to pick one out, because I mean, I just love them all for different reasons. I'm trying to think of one exactly. Do you know what, I did love when she says that poor little dog Dodo as well, only because it referenced to the Wizard of Oz, and it was always kind of like, hee hee, I used to be Dorothy.
Hey, that's,
yeah,
you came like full circle, kind of like
I know,
Dorothy and then playing
I know.
Glinda.
I just need to do Elphaba, then Morrible, and then when they allow a female wizard, I'm gonna be there.
I was gonna ask what role were you gonna do? Would you want to play if you went back to Wicked? So there's
all
the
of them.
You're gonna gradually
a monkey. I'd love to do a monkey. That'd be so cool.
Gradually cross off all of them.
Yeah, definitely.
What's your dream role, whether it's on a West End stage or a Broadway stage?
So Glinda was, in all seriousness, my dream role, but at the moment, probably the next one I'd love, the next bucket this one would be Fontaine in Les Mis, on whichever side of the pond. I mean, whichever side will have me.
Yes, I feel like your I Dreamed a Dream would be stunning.
I would love to do that. It was so cool.
Have you ever sung it? I know you have like covers of songs on iTunes.
Yeah, I've done I Dreamed a Dream at live concerts. I haven't recorded it, but I have. It's on, I think it may be on YouTube somewhere. I feel like a concert. I feel like it's on there somewhere.
I gotta look for that after.
Yeah.
I'll be like, I found it.
Yes.
And if you could revive any musical, what would it be?
it's a funny one, really. Do you have We Will Rock You over there?
Yes, we did, I think.
So I'm a massive Queen fan, and it's kind of my guilty pleasure musical because the story's a bit odd and it's all very futuristic and kind of weird, but the music is so good. So I'd love to maybe do some, either Scaramouche or Meat from Rock You if they were well, they've revived it kind of on tour. But if they were to bring it to the West End again, I would have a little go at the audition. I think they'd be surprised to see me rock up at the audition.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. How do you, you kind of mentioned auditions earlier, and I want to wrap this up so you can get to your next interview.
No, you're fine, don't worry.
You kind of mentioned auditions earlier. How do you prepare for an audition and relax before an audition?
There's a couple of things. I'm still not someone that loves auditions. I mean, I don't know if there are anyone, but I have friends that say, "Oh, I really enjoy auditions," and I'm like, "Really?" Don't get me wrong. The feeling of the accomplishment afterwards is nice, and that kind of, oh, I did it. I got in. I got through it. I did I did the best I could. But for me, I have to I get up. I have a routine. I get up. I try and keep myself calm from the get go. I, drink plenty of water. I warm up. I go over my material loads and loads and loads of times. Preparation for auditions for me is key, because if I ever feel underprepared, that's when the nerves take over. So preparation is key. I've actually done an anxiety and audition talk before, and I went into depth about it all, which was good. It was good to actually say things out loud, and it reminded myself of what I should do before an audition as well.
You kind of have to give yourself pep talks a lot, in the circumstance. Like in the morning, I just feel like it's good to give yourself pep talks no matter what on a regular day.
Yeah, definitely.
Otherwise, you spend all day over comparing yourself to others.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want to ever compare. You're never going to be the same as someone else. And one of the biggest bits of advice I give to people is, if you go into an audition room and you've prepared the best that you can, you do the best that you can, they're the only things you can control. You can't control anything else. You can control the controllables, which are how you go in and kind of express yourself. And always remember that the people sitting down in front of you want you to do well. They want you to be the person they are going to employ. They don't want you to come in so they can have a laugh and laugh at your expense. That they never ever want that. They want you to be good. So just believe that they believe in you, and that often just turns you into that more positive place.
For sure. And then you're slated to do, I mean, things are changing every day right now, obviously, but you're slated to do a Christmas show, I saw.
Yeah, it'll be so cool. I think the end of December at the Palace Theatre in London. Everything will be socially distanced. It'll be very safe. It's myself, Alice Fearn, Ben Foster, Jamie Moscato, Leighton Williams, Rachel John, Sinead Holmes, Trevor John Nicholas, so many amazing people. And we're all putting on a West End musical Christmas. So all of your kind of favourite musical songs, as well as lots of Christmas hits.
I want to be there. I'm jealous.
Yeah.
Western right now. I'm so jealous.
Yeah. It'll be great.
Gotta say. And then I mentioned you had stuff on iTunes and Apple Music and Spotify. Do you have any plans to release more anytime soon?
Potentially, yeah. So my album that I released last September, Icons, is available to stream, and you can order it from me via my Instagram as well, and I'll sign it for you, and I've sent them all around the world, so if I could get them to you. It may take a while to get to America at the moment, but it will get to you. And then myself and a friend who I can't name because it's all a bit of a secret at the moment, but another musical theatre lovely lady, we may be putting together an album, hopefully.
Oh,
yeah. So, and hopefully it'll be out maybe February time. Hopefully, if things go well. There's a lot of elements that could go wrong from now until then, but at the moment it's a green light. Yeah.
It's so needed for new music to be out during this time, I feel like.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely agree.
I love that. Do you have anything else that you'd want to promote before?
I mean, as I mentioned at the start, I do singing with Sophie sessions, which are amazing. I'm loving them, and I get to meet people, and we really work on, vocal technique, acting through song, confidence. Even if singing isn't your thing, and you want to kind of just build that confidence. And I'm fully booked pretty much now before Christmas. So if anyone in the new year would like to have a singing with Sophie session, you can drop me a message on Instagram, and I will reply.
I love that. It must be so cool watching students grow and grow.
It's really rewarding. Completely.
What a fulfilling thing. And if people want to contact you, where can they reach out to you on social media?
So Instagram's probably the easiest. I always check my direct messages, even if they go into the kind of side box. So that's Sophie Evans official. And then we have Twitter, Sophie Evans, which I'm kind of on, but I'm also not really. And then I do have my Facebook page as well as my professional Facebook page, but Instagram is where I'm at the most.
Fantastic. Love that. I'll put links in the description so people can find you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining me and talking to me on this for a little bit.
No problem. This was lovely to meet you, and I hope all of your other interviews go well. And I hope people enjoy this and they haven't been like, who's this girl chatting nonsense?
No, I've heard so many great things. So I was very excited that I reached out and said you could do this. Thanks for watching this episode of Backstage with Becca B. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Becca B Talks TV. Or for more exclusive content from this interview and more, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Backstage with Becca B. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video, or if you're listening on